A rescue mission to the planet Altair 4 discovers a father, his daughter, and a mysterious, threatening force in the 1956 sci-fi classic, Forbidden Planet. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
We've interviewed the other members of the Bellerophon party.
But there are no others, Commander. Before the first year was out, they had all, every man and woman of them, succumbed to a sort of a planetary force here. Only my wife and I were immune.
And just how do you account for your immunity, Dr. Morbius?
My wife and I differed from the others only in our special love for this new world, in our boundless longing to make a home here far from the scurry and strife of humankind.
Dr. Morbius, just what were the symptoms of all those other deaths?
One by one, in spite of every safeguard, my co-workers were torn literally limb from limb.
By what?
By some devilish thing that never once showed itself.
And the Bellerophon?
Vaporized as the three remaining survivors tried to take her off.
And yet, in all these 19 years, you personally have never again been bothered by this planetary force.
Only in nightmares of those times. And yet, always in my mind, I seem to feel the creature is lurking somewhere close at hand, sly and irresistible, and only waiting to be re-invoked for murder.
That's Dr. Morbius, played by Walter Pidgeon, and he's talking to, I think at that scene, it's Leslie Nielsen's Commander Adams. And this is Forbidden Planet. I guess the best place to start is in researching the background of the film. It turns out this is one of those kind of like pivotal moments in sci-fi in the 60s, I guess. It's got a lot of benchmark special effects going on. It's even referencing, as we found out, of all things, Shakespeare's Tempest. Isn't that something?
Yeah. Maybe as I've watched more sci-fi in my life, it's maybe not the most uncommon thing at this point to see something like be based off of something else. Like, I'm just going to use kind of some recency bias here. A lot of people will compare a movie like Interstellar to kind of, a, sort of Odyssey itself. I think probably what's more shocking than anything, thinking about like this movie is like inspired by The Tempest, is that we're so used to like
usually pretty B-movie, like a lot of B-movie.
Very B-movie. It's got like those B-movie names, like the Sunbeam, yes, or whatever that was called. I was kind of going into this expecting like, okay, in fact, when you had said that this is the movie we're going to watch next, or one of the movies that we're going to watch next, my immediate thought was, okay, we're going to nuke the fridge on this one. Because I just, my automatic thought.
If you look at the poster for it, and, it's like, it's got all the elements. It's got Robbie the Robot on the cover. It's got, I think it's got Leslie Nielsen's Commander Adams doing a ray gun thing with the woman hanging off of his arm. And it's like, it's totally every B movie that I've ever seen in one poster, pretty much. But to have a little bit more of a pedigree, I guess, was a little bit unexpected. And I think for that reason, it takes the edge off of any kind of nuke the fridge, that I would tend to give it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away entirely. There's aspects, and we'll talk about them. It almost kind of leans a little bit into almost like what I would call like a Star Trek idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get exactly what you're saying. In fact, there was a couple different times I was watching this going, this had to inspire Star Trek. In an authorized, this is from Wikipedia, in an authorized biography, Gene Roddenberry notes that Forbidden Planet was an inspiration for Star Trek and quotes a memo by Roddenberry, the person that wrote that, in which he explicitly avoids copying the mechanics of Forbidden Planet's spaceship, but hopes for it to stimulate our own thinking. So yeah, like, I know that spaceship, which is just a flying saucer, folks.
Yeah,
like,
I know. But if you take that and you just consider if you just consider the saucer section for the Enterprise, and it's like, well, yeah, you just built off a couple of things onto the bottom of a flying saucer, and there's your Enterprise, right?
Yeah, and then you've got like Robbie the Robot. This suit, goes on to be in many different things, even if it's just cameo, and that's something. Like,
the robot gets a name credit. And given that I think it was like given as a percentage of the film's total cost, it was something like one of the highest prop costs for a film at the time, and it was like at 7% of the film's budget went into Robbie the Robot. So,
Yeah.
and it was built apparently pretty hardily so that it could withstand, I guess, whatever they needed to do with it. And they say, well, we got this thing, we put all the money in it. I can only imagine the studio saying, we got those other sci-fi projects out there, and maybe we could cut a little corner on them by using this robot, maybe make some of our money back that way too, because this, it cost a lot. It cost us a lot of money. Let's get every penny we can out of it.
Now, all that said, I'm going to be real with you. I wish it was better. This movie kind of has, in my opinion, it has the, while it has the privilege of being like an innovator in sci-fi stories, at the same time, I'm like, it's just not that exciting to me.
No, there is a lot of lulls in it. They don't know how to pace the story out, I think, is part of the problem, because they back end a lot of the kind of explanation stuff into one long stretch in the second half. It's like they go through this whole where they discover his lab, which is not his lab, but you get the idea.
I love that you bring that up, because this movie clocks in at 1 hour and 39 minutes. There was at one point in this movie that I just checked to see how much time we had left. And I was like, holy, like there's so much time left. And I was like, this movie's got to be wrapping up soon. Like, it's not that, again, which means that you're getting more exposition than you need to be getting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And while there is a mixture of action, it's just not enough action for me.
No, you're right. There isn't enough things going on. When they get into their exposition, they really get into the exposition. I guess for me, and this might be just a one-time kind of enjoyment kind of factor for me. I don't know, but it's like as I'm watching them go through the different set pieces, I was finding myself wandering away from the dialogue and more towards like, wow, that's a really great matte background that they're walking through. And they really integrated that matte background well. It's like, that's pretty cool what they did with that effect there. And it's like, and I'm like, so I'm paying attention to all of these things. So I'm still getting entertainment out of it. But it's kind of like the way that if Jurassic Park didn't have a story that could support the dinosaurs, the dinosaurs would be cool and all, but you'd just be watching them from a distance saying, okay, now what? Because, why do I care about the people?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I felt that way about the door. Like there's that door that when they go into the Krell, is that what it's called, right?
Yeah, the Krell Labs. I'll call it
when
Krell
they go
Labs.
into the Krell Lab. I really like that door. The only thing about that whole door scene that I didn't like was like, I thought the contraption again was a bit dumb. And again, like, I'm going to give you your due when you're trying to create something. But the door itself, like, I thought the way that they had it open was just really neat. Like, it looked like a real door being opened after he did that little contraption.
It looked heavy and again, like big.
Yeah, it did. And I'm like, no wonder nothing's getting through that. Like, he just explained, like, like you shoot the door, ain't nothing getting through there. And like they do, and he's right. And then they open the door, and like you see it open, and like there's another layer, and there's like another layer, and I'm sitting there going,
another layer.
Yeah, that's why it's not nothing's getting through. I mean, it's just it's Fort Knox back there. But I like that. I thought that was really neat. I thought the way they played with the special effects in this movie. But I personally didn't see anything, just offhand that I thought was like a bit ridiculous. Like when we can definitely see strings on spaceships or missiles or, like someone in the background's like clearly they weren't thinking about the shot. I thought they tried to be as professional as possible.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. There's only one real special effect that kind of, if you want to call it that didn't kind of gel with me, and that's when they're on the planet surface, because they have to make it look bigger than it is. They're in a studio set, obviously. And so what's the thing you do? You make a matte background, and but the cameras are still so close to the matte background that it's like you could almost feel like you could reach out and touch the matte background. If you can see the exact place where it cuts off, that's usually down. Now on the other side of on the other side of things, the most impressive effects. And I wondered about this because when they got to the actual beast itself, which is the id beast, that is that when it's actually hand-drawn animation. When the way they animated it made me start thinking, it's like, I wonder who was behind that. And it's like, sure enough, lo and behold, turns out Walt Disney Productions loaned MGM one of their animators to do that. And they did it in ink and then used the negative, whatever the black drawing marks that they made, that the animator made, and they took the inverse of that to make it bright and shiny and translucent. I thought that was really neat, and I could see like the Disney kind of touch to the way they animated that,
Yes.
and also, yeah, that was really cool. I really like that.
Well, Disney gets into sci-fi a little bit. There's another movie. I don't think we'll ever watch this movie because it gets very dark at the end.
Is it the Black
Is that
Hole?
is that the movie? It might be that one.
It's got Maximilian Schell. I mean, what year is that?
Did we watch that one already?
No, we didn't. It's from my childhood. I watched that as a kid. It's a classic, though, for weird reasons.
That movie kind of, sort of goes on to inspire just a tiny bit Event Horizon
Event
in the
Horizon.
future.
Oh yeah, because of that last scene and I can see where they get that from too, man. The connections
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's like it's like you're going through this sci-fi film, and all of a sudden the end is like a depiction of hell, and it's like,
Yes.
okay, well, and it doesn't really prepare you for it in the movie. It's one of those things. It's like it doesn't make sense, but it kind of makes the film more memorable for it not making sense.
Well, I mean, that's the
And
thing.
it's like
It's like
it goes with the theme, but go ahead.
it's got those cartoonish robots.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's classic Disney kind of goofiness, family friendly goofiness with the two robots. Especially, I hate the Slim Pickens one, by the way. The Slim
Yeah.
Pickens robot. I always hated him.
Like watching this movie, I almost went and looked it up and see if it was on Disney Plus because it just felt like a Disney movie to me. Like honestly,
Mhm.
like I was sitting there watching it and I was like, this feels Disney-ish, which is not a bad thing. I want to make that very clear. It felt like a Disney movie to me watching it. And I will say that like I did love that animation. Like it was very long, but I was like, this is really like this is neat. It's CGI before CGI.
I wish the story could hold up to the effects, really, because I just
Yeah.
really wish it could have. Dr. Morbius's daughter, Altaira, I think is her name, and she's got the worst case of born sexy yesterday. She's the most naive. She's presented initially as the most naive creature that you could possibly imagine, and he's weirdly okay with these kind of like it's the whole stereotype about sailors being on ship too long, around and
Hmm.
being around a woman. And it's like, and they're all talking pretty openly in front of the dad and the girl about all these urges that the men are having. And the dad's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, and he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Did you not hear these men are practically drooling over your daughter again? Like I've said before, like a steak at a barbecue, you know, like it's like, and you're just sitting there like, oh yeah, whatever. It almost made me think for a while. It's like, is she a robot because she doesn't have the emotions? But it's not.
Recently, I watched the Odyssey, and a part of the Odyssey is like, is critiquing this particular movie version of it, anyways, is critiquing the pigness of men. And it's like I'm watching that and going, "Oh, this is uncomfortable," because, like, it's like, on one hand, it's like, okay, I get it. You haven't been around, other women around in forever, but still, it shouldn't dictate how you act to the one woman you see. The movie intentionally does like make her sexy. She's like always wearing a short dress. She's very
Yes.
whimsical. She's like your stereotypical blonde. She's very pretty. Like I'm not going to deny it. She's not pretty in the movie, but I mean, it's just kind of like it's a little bit uncomfortable and everything. And especially after what I just said, and it doesn't buy sympathy, in my opinion, with the crew. And that's something that a movie should be doing. Is like if you want me to think they're the good guys, they're the valiant guys, when they see a woman, their automatic thing shouldn't be, uga chaka, or anything like
Oh,
that. You know,
no, I get it totally. You're absolutely spot on. I mean, the only redeeming factor I said is like if they played it that way as like they did, and then they made her a robot because that would be like just desserts. And then it's like, see, you guys are hitting on a robot the whole time. Some of them probably would have kept going anyway. But it's like
yeah,
then they take this very kind of naive, very robotic woman who's kind of like I said, naive, but also kind of a nymphomaniac then. And then all of a sudden she believes in monogamy.
yeah.
That was the progression of her character, so to speak, in very short order. Because, yeah, it's like, what do I make of that? It's just a basic character thing, but it's also a sexism thing. If you don't know what to do with the character, just, I don't know what to say. Maybe maybe you shouldn't even have the character. She doesn't really play that much of a role, even at the end. I just can't think of what effect she has in the plot, except to be there as an object.
You know, I'm just kind of like rereading over the plot to make sure I didn't miss anything big. It's like somehow miss anything big. But like, what would have
Yeah,
made her character work even more if he created her.
that's what I'm saying. Like he created Robbie the
Yeah.
Robot, then he created her, a more sophisticated version of Robbie.
Or because he's like he created our monster. Like, what if, like,
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to admit that. What if his mind had done that? What if his mind had created both and he's just been hiding it the whole entire time? Because, like, you know, that's a big secret. That's a big scientific thing. Like, it could have been based off of his wife, not to make a new wife, but like maybe she couldn't have a child. And that's why,
exactly.
that's how she came into being. And then, like, a part of this was also his thoughts and loneliness. They manifest his anger
Hmm.
towards maybe this whole entire thing. It manifests, and you have it split off here. And then, like, maybe this is the 50s, so I understand we're not going to go down this route yet. But maybe she's the key the whole entire time to taking out the monster. And that's not like meaning that she has to die, but it means maybe there's something more about her that we learn. That'd have been a great way to do this movie.
Yeah.
Instead, you're right. It's just like, that's his daughter. She's hot.
Because of course she is,
Yeah.
It's not that she had to be ugly or something, but just average would be okay, I do think this belongs in a museum. I think, I don't know, but I think I might actually get enough enjoyment out of this, at least watching this once, maybe twice more. It is a historical artifact in terms of a
Yeah.
film. It has so much of it's got the animation. Like I said, they had a Disney animator working on the beast effects, as well as some of the effects coming down when they land the saucer. I noticed there were little streaking particle effects that were really kind of cool. They do that from time to time. The laser guns that they use, they do the same thing. They're all animated, hand animated, and it's like that actually adds an extra layer of believability to it. And it grounds the film a little bit more than your average B movie, sci-fi B movie. I just wish the material lived up to it. I can see why it's so influential. I love Robbie the Robot. And I don't love him, but I love the fact that he's so expensive that he gets used again. It's like, so it's less about the design itself and more like this, like just the idea of a prop costing that much that he gets used in other properties. There's all these little bits of stuff like this scattered throughout the film. I can see why it has got a bit of a love attachment, I guess like a cult following attached to it. So, but I can't give it more than just in a museum, with a glossing of perhaps a little nuking the fridge, just a little sprinkling of nuking, if you want to call it that.
So for the most part, I absolutely do agree with you. You know, because of what it did for sci-fi and fantasy writers after this, creators, yeah, it's 100%. Like, you've got to give it, you tip your cap to it, you respect it for what it is. But yeah, for me, belongs in a museum as well. This is one of those movies that, like, I would love to see an updated version of it just because. But I bet if we got a remake of it of any sort, we would probably get something I said at the end of, like where the daughter and the monster are connected in some way. But yeah, it belongs in a museum. The story is like I've already said, the story is a bit shocking. It's like shockingly longer than you would expect it to be, just because it's not a very long movie in itself. But the effects for the 50s are admirable. There's a lot of untapped lore to this movie, and that makes it interesting. Like, I think there's a novelization of it as well. So, like, who knows? Maybe we get more in the future. Maybe it becomes its own little
Maybe.
franchise at some point. And I think that's really neat. Also, you've got, like, I think it's innovative, and I think it's risky in a good way to, have a named character in this movie who is not actually, a real person. It's Robbie the Robot. It makes me, like, wish more people did that.
It's funny because he gets a name credit. He gets a name credit, but the guy who voiced him didn't.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, so for me, it's also belongs in a museum, and I could see myself watching it here and there a little bit, or really diving into people talking about it. So yeah, belongs in a museum.
In any case, folks, that's our film for this week. At this time, Ryan and I like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me dusting off these old movies, like Forbidden Planet, with In Search of Celluloid Treasure, please do like and subscribe and comment. And of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong, because we're human. And clue us in on a few titles you'd like us to see cover on future episodes, as long as they are available for free on Tubi or other free streaming platform, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And we have another movie coming up next week. It's very not sci-fi. Going back, in fact, it's very not in the 50s either. We're going back pretty far in this one. Why don't you tell the folks about it?
This is not a like I was looking this up just now. This is not a silent movie, is it?
I don't think so. I haven't fully checked it though. I think I think it's not.
I'm pretty sure. It doesn't feel like it would be. But here's what Tubi says. After voting to convict a theater troupe actress for murder, a trial juror has second thoughts and begins his own investigation before the execution, which that, in of itself, sounds really neat. And here's the cast. We have Herbert Marshall, Nora Baring, Phyllis Constance, and Edward Chapman. This is another Alfred Hitchcock movie. And as of late, the Alfred Hitchcock movies have not been hitting so well on this, so I'm kind of hoping that we have a big turnaround. Of course, we've done some war movies and some, talked about that, but like this is back to his bread and butter, which is murder mystery, which is part of the title of the movie. This is 1930s movie Murder with an exclamation point.
Yes. Very emphatic murder, this one. And it just goes to show you, too, just how long Alfred Hitchcock's career was. He had, a good 30 to 35, almost 40 years of directing, I think. I don't know when his last film was, but I think he was directing clear into the 60s and maybe I don't know if he got into the 70s. He might have had early 70s, but that's a long career for a director. So, yeah, it just goes to show you. But they're going all the way back to the beginning of his career. I don't know if it's I don't think it's his first movie, but it is going way back there. So interesting to see how early Hitchcock is.
It's his third all-talkie film.
Which means he probably had some silent ones before that.
Yeah. His first three are Blackmail, Juno and the Paycock, and then this one's the next one. Murder!
Okay. Murder. All right, folks. Well, I guess there's not much else to say about that this week, so I guess we'll see you guys next week. And Ryan, I'll see you next week, okay, man?
See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye, folks.